A certain Nathan Williamson said at halftime, or just before the game on the dropped kickoff Twitter, they're nervous, we're calm. And I'm not going to lie, for about 25 minutes, I could not have disagreed more with such a statement. But Mr. Williamson, you turned out to be right. Welcome to the dropped kickoff for another week. You get an early episode this week. It's super exciting. We want to talk about this Bledisloe match. We have many thoughts, feelings, opinions. Of course, as mentioned, I have Mr. Williamson, first of all, by my side. Mate, bit of a roller coaster match.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, thanks for giving away that was me. You're going to get all the South Africans thinking all those tweets were mine. They were not. They were not.
It's the only time I'll throw you under the bus because I personally like the fact that there's a decent amount of folks on that dropped kickoff Twitter, and there is so many people who like more than you think. There is a lot more people on that Twitter than you think. It is true, but to be honest, it was completely reflective at the end of that game in the closing stages of the match. Mr. Hartman is the other gentleman who joins us on this pod this evening. You both were at the venue. Nick, you were sitting next to a couple of Kiwis. How was the vibe at the stadium?
Yeah, I was sitting amongst Kiwis. Was given free tickets by a Kiwi, and they were in the Kiwi supporter bay. I was on row 2 behind the goal, so it was pretty shit seats. I spent most of my time watching it on TV because I couldn't see anything. I saw the obstruction for the first try very well because that was right in front of me. We'll talk about that a bit later. And I just want to say as well, those aren't Nathan's words. We're nervous. They're nervous. We're calm. That's actually Matthew Wade's words as relayed by Marcus Stoinis.
Somebody got the reference. Yes.
nice bit of plagiarism. That's how we roll.
Yeah. We do best. That's what we do best.
It is what we do best. That's
it's in the hallmarks of Australian culture, along with "Get your hands off my penis." You know well.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah. The vibe of the stadium was great. I mean, I was there for the Origin because I got free tickets to the Origin too. Anyone listening, the free ticket fucking market is the place to go. The vibe was amazing at the Origin, and the vibe at the ground was great. Even amongst the Kiwis, I mean, they audibly got nervous. The guy sitting next to me after they ran through that try, which I mean, I couldn't see anything except I think they went straight through Len Ikitau, and he just goes, "Oh, we played well, eh?" Like, fuck you! Like, yes, you are playing well. You scored a try in the first minute. Yeah, you're playing fucking well, mate. And he said it to no one in particular.
Deliberately said it loud so everyone could hear it. You know those people. I'm definitely not
worried. There were a couple of huge Maoris who started banging on the hoarding when the haka was on. I'm like, all right, they can't say anything, can't celebrate around them. But no, they were lovely around me.
Yeah,
it's good. To answer your question,
I'm glad to hear that. And the vibe that I get from looking at the reaction online was that everyone really enjoyed that match, which is quite,
I did.
I think, a particularly refreshing analysis to say. I
did not enjoy the first 20 minutes. I want to say that.
I'm not going to lie. I do not think I have been in a more unenthusiastic mood to watch a Bledisloe match. I was livid, in a grumpy, angry mood. And as we'll get into a little bit later, even despite the result, I am still extraordinarily conflicted right now.
It's actually, it's funny that we all had really different experiences. The amount of times I've seen the Wallabies get towed up by the All Blacks at that stadium.
Yeah.
It's probably every year since they started losing. So I was very used to the first 20 minutes, and I'm like, we'll come back into it. And we did, and it was great. And I was having fun. I was in the sun drinking beer, having a grand old time.
Oh, sounds wonderful. Well, of course, we'll talk about it first as a quick summary of this Bledisloe. The Bledisloe Cup is, in fact, heading back to New Zealand. If you haven't seen it, if you're not listening to this rugby podcast and coming in with no context at all, Australia went down 28-31 to the All Blacks in Homebush. Other results of the weekend, of course, we have Argentina, who actually dusted off the South Africa, dusted off, won in a thriller 29-28 earlier today. We're recording on Sunday night. Actually, the first time Los Pumas have ever ever beaten all three other teams in the Rugby Championship ever in the history of competing in the Rugby Championship. Other result as well, of course, we've got to mention the Wallaroos going down 31-24 to Wales. We'll discuss that particular result and the Wallaroos in general later this week when we do our preview, when we talk about WXV2 as well as the Wallabies' second match for in Wellington. But this podcast, we really want to talk all Bledisloe. And to kick us off, as always, with a left field question that once again will send us down a rabbit hole. This one, courtesy of Mr. Hartman, we need to describe that game using an esoteric food metaphor.
Yeah, seeing as this is mine, I'll go first. So I think the first half was, plain naan. Second half was cheesy garlic naan.
Okay, that's pretty fair. I had, I think first half was either seafood from Outback Australia or gas station sushi. And then lobster for the second half. Great when you get it, but geez, it's way too much work for very little in the end.
I appreciate that one. Mine, to summarize the entire match, was escargot, which is French snails. Nervous as all hell and dreading tasting it going into it. Then the moment that you actually try it, initially you're grossed out and wondering, what the hell am I going to, is this, what have I got myself in for? Is this terrible? But if combined with the right ingredients, ends up being a much more enjoyable experience than you expect. So that is my metaphor to summarize, my esoteric food metaphor to summarize this game. Yeah. What's yours? If you're listening, drop us a comment on Twitter or whatever. Tell us what food analogy can you describe this particular performance? But let's get into the game.
Yeah, it's like Louis Boss in the first half, and then lekker braai in the second half.
Lekker braai second, lekker braai. It's second half. What's a good analogy for? Have we got a Kiwi equivalent?
Lemon and Perot in the first half,
and then the second half. Mud, something like that.
Well, water straight from Rotorua's, like
from Milford Sound, like glacial water from Mount Cook first half, just straight mud in the second half. That it won't
sewage water straight from Rotorua.
That you're nervous consuming, but you're willing. You're nervous consuming, but you're hopeful that you won't get sick.
For us, red first half, a Hawke's Bay Sauvignon Blanc. Second half.
May as well make it about wine and pavlova. We can do that. So we alluded to it a little bit beforehand, but you both were at the game. I was watching it from Barrel at home. And first of all, and I mean, we've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but the experience at the stadium, I think, is kind of one thing we really need to talk about because afternoon footy. Nathan, I'll throw it to you first because you, of course, had the view from the press box and had many journalists next to you. No, don't need to go into names, but
I'm sure a lot of people will relate to what Nathan's about to say. From the press box.
I'd like to say I was in the overflow, so didn't even get my free Cadbury and free clapper hands. So,
ouch.
If you want to just show a bit of respect, I was slumming it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. But yeah, what was the thought? What was it like at the ground? Because we noticed some stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was having gone through, a green out in Brisbane. Perth would have been probably even more, if not for the rain. It was a great sort of split of Wallabies and All Blacks fans. The Gold Brigade area was pretty full. The decent sort of All Blacks sort of contingency as well. So it sort of leads to this great atmosphere. Whenever someone makes a break, you just hear a massive roar. And, you could feel the energy in the place in the last 10, 15 as it started to build. And I sort of alluded to it, just the joy of afternoon football. And, I think that's been one of the big winners of this test season is, I think something like it's only the second time since the Lions were last year that we have seen sort of over 200,000 people pack into games across the sort of country over this test period. And a lot of those games, a lot of those big crowds have been those afternoon ones where, it's strategically timed to sort of try not to clash with club football as best as possible. And then you just try and make it sort of a big spectacle, which can get everybody too. So, I think it was an absolute winner of a sort of afternoon outside of the result.
Do you think Rugby Australia will kind of look at this and go, maybe we need to do this, maybe this afternoon, slot, instead of the 8 o'clock slot at night or whenever they kick off, might actually be a more lucrative, better option, just for the Wallabies going forward? Because, I mean, it's not isolated to rugby union that I've been seeing more afternoon games kick off. And personally, I like the appeal of an afternoon game. It's more appealing to me.
The thing with an afternoon game is it's great for crowds, but terrible for broadcast. So I think even this game was lower than what the Wales, I think the first or the second Wales game from a broadcast numbers, simply because that's your difference between your afternoon games. A lot more going on, a lot more people out and about. You're less inclined to sort of sit back and watch it rather than that 7:30, 8 o'clock one where, it's prime time. People are looking for something on a Saturday night. You're just going to throw it on.
But you imagine, less, I don't think less people kind of would have watched it in one way or another. I don't know if obviously I'm talking out of my ass here, but you'd also imagine maybe more people would go to a pub, for example, to go watch it.
Potentially,
yeah. I know Stan exists on residential subscriptions, right? That's its business model. So you're more likely to be at home,
I mean, and all that is Channel 9 figures. We still don't know what Stan is in terms of what numbers they do.
Yeah, we never get the numbers from Stan, do we? I actually am very curious as to see. I mean, I know that there is some numbers out there around the number of subscriptions, but at some point you hope that they would release the data on how many people are actually watching.
Yeah, look, I'm not hopeful though, but to just answer your question, I thought it was great. It was really good to have it in the afternoon. I felt great about it, and you've got the night afterwards to go out. I thought it was fantastic, and I wish they could do more of it. And it might be a point of difference too. There's also a great vibe. A lot of people there in Roosters and Manly jerseys because they were playing in the SFS that night, last night. So I thought that was a great vibe too. My mate went to the game immediately after. He did a doubleheader. So I thought that was great, and if they could keep doing it, it'd be awesome.
That's a good example of just being a bit more savvy, to be honest, just from a fan engagement.
Well, I don't think it was savvy. Look, I'm not going to be given that much credit. I think it was they want to clash with the NRL finals, to be honest.
That's fair. It's fair. But look, it did seem like the actual venue itself seemed really, really awesome, and the atmosphere was great. But let's actually get into the game itself. And we've kind of decided we're going to do what was some of our highlights and what were some of our lowlights for this particular match, and kind of just talk about it in free ball it, throw it around, see what works, what we agree and what we do agree on. Don't agree.
Sorry, I just remembered something. So before we get on, sorry for interrupting. But another great thing they did, and we'll give them credit for this. My tickets cost $50. Again, they're free tickets, but they only cost $50, and they were selling some for as low as $30. And I really think that's one thing that Rugby Australia has to work on, because they just expect the same people to pay, $1,000 for a ticket, who they're doctors or whatever. But that's not going to grow the game. They really need to start putting out these cheap tickets. Just get people in, get the vibe going. Because if you look at AFL, it's all it's a cultured vibe more than watching actual sport.
Yeah.
So I really think that's what they've got to start doing.
Yeah, that's been a massive sort of. You saw it in the Georgia game as well. I think the most expensive seat was $150 or something like that. Everything else was properly discounted down. So yeah, I think everyone sort of reacted to the Lions ticket price and went, they were trying to price everybody out. What are we doing here? And it's that was that pricing for once a decade thing as opposed to once a year thing. So 100% heading forward, cheaper tickets, get more people in, and just make your money back from people actually buying sort of stuff when you're in there.
I did notice the tickets seemed a lot because I was kind of looking at tickets, maybe seeing if I could get along to it, a little while back, and I thought had noticed that there had been a bit of a drop down in price, and it wasn't a bad thing at all because, I mean, a lot of other sports it was kind of more in line with with other sports, some similar to you see the Matildas selling out venue after venue after venue, and their tickets are not, of course there are some expensive areas and expensive tickets, but there's a lot of relatively cheap tickets all around the ground. And to see those key kind of pockets where you could get a $40 ticket, $50 ticket, actually was quite, I thought like, hey, how awesome is that? That's like, I'd welcome seeing plenty more of that. So fingers crossed that they kind of RA take the feedback on that and go, you know what, let's try and persist with this and see how it goes, because it hopefully will result in better bang for buck by getting more people to come out. Game itself, Mr. Hartman, I'll throw to you first for this one because I feel like a lot of the highlights we're going to talk about, I mean, of course we've talked about the actual venue, the day, everything like that, but that last 65 minutes, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in terms of key highlights.
Okay, yeah. Well, look, I've written down a list of highlights and lowlights, which we'll talk about soon. I'll just go through the highlights, and you boys can tell me if you've also got these people in your list, whether real or figurative. The first one I've written down is McWright.
Amazing. Clone him 23 times. The dude freak.
That 50-22 was up there with Marika smashing, was it Mapimpi in Adelaide? Yeah. It was freakish. An amazing kick.
That was a 22-22. That was a 22-22.
Yeah.
And it was insane.
The fact that he kicked it, it's like almost Matt Dunning areas. Amazing. Just an amazing, fucking amazing game. He was everywhere. He was everything. And yeah, just I don't know what else to say. I think everyone on my wavelength.
Yeah, look, as much
interesting to say, except wow.
As much as we were like saying Carlo Cesano was playing really, really well, the moment Fraser came back on, I was like, oh, that's what we've been missing. Holy shit. Sorry, Carlo. Like, you've been so consistent with your tackling and everything like that. And I still believe there's a spot for him in that, even on the bench or whatever. And then, of course, we've got to get to
what can you do? What could you possibly do?
How do you respond to that?
He's
that
amazing.
Was phenomenal. Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Like, and he's got, just for a forward, one of the best attacking IQs out there. Like, the way he just pops up in the perfect position every single time. Like, makes the right move. Essentially makes the right call every single time. Like, he was amazing. And again, a workhorse. I don't even think he even had that good of a game over the breakdown, but everything else he did was amazing.
Yeah, he was amazing. I'll add a little extra point on this, and as a highlight off the back of this, because in the preview and the warm up, like in the broadcast, Fraser was talking a lot about playing with Harry Wilson and how like they've been playing together since they were 15 or 16, at representative level, and that they have kind of grown to a level where Fraser makes a break and he just expects Harry to be there. And he just knows that Harry, not expects, he knows Harry's going to be there, like just because they've played that much together. Major highlight for me, this match confirmed to me, I actually think, as much as I know that, while captains have been moving around, have been chopped and changed a lot, I do think that there is a key purpose to that. A great point raised by Steve Hansen in another podcast that will not be mentioned, but you know which one it is that I work on. That basically, he said that there is. I know you're crossing me off, Natho. But
devil is a liar.
He mentioned that actually chopping and changing captains every week is not necessarily a bad thing because he wants as many people as possible to have that leadership experience of wearing the captain's armband. So even if you don't have the captain's armband, you should know and come to expect what is required of you in terms of being a leader within the group. For me, of course, there is that 67-27 result that is kind of the big question mark that we've all said is the big alarm and concern. But there was a particular moment right at the end of the game where you kind of had that questionable call where like off the kickoff that resulted in a scrum to the All Blacks, and Harry Wilson lost his cool. The ref pulls him aside and is like, Harry, we've had a great relationship this entire match. You have been exceptional. You have communicated very, very well. Please let me do my job, though, in this instance. And Harry just said, okay, I'm sorry. Because I think Harry had an issue with it, the fact that the TMO had a look at it and saw that there was nothing wrong, and he thought that there was foul play, obviously, understandably, because it's the close of the game. And we can get to that a little bit later. But it made me realise I actually think we have our long-term captain. I think... Yeah. I actually think Harry Wilson is our long-term captain because they've always talked about he leads by setting an example. He doesn't speak a lot. He doesn't say a lot. He just leads by action. And I have noticed that our discipline has improved out of sight since he has become captain. How many bloody yellow cards had we given away in all the matches before that? Bar a yellow card in the 80th minute in that massive shellacking in Santa Fe, which was to Andrew Kellaway, and it was full time straight afterwards anyway. I think the Wallabies' discipline has improved out of sight just as a starting point with him as captain, because it feels like he's actually saying, okay, guys, we actually need to be a bit more disciplined here. More the fact that you see him everywhere, he's leading from the front. I think he's complemented even better by Fraser McRide alongside him. Bobby V is also up to the task.
You've got three highlights here. It's good discipline.
I mean,
Harry Wilson and leadership. Come on, mate.
It's me. It's me here. You may as I always dump 13 points in. That's why I waffled for so long. Yeah.
I also had I had Wilson down as well. I was at the game and like I said, my seat sucked, so I didn't see what was going on, but I mean, it was great. Actually, I loved him badgering the ref and being a bit aggressive and hard-nosed with the ref. I had no idea what he was saying because I was at the ground, but I'm pretty sure.
Funny you say that. The ref said, in that closing stage on the broadcast, you have been phenomenal. Like, you and I have had a great relationship this entire match. Please don't lose your cool in this last moment.
There was There was that. I guess. Look, okay, Nathan, you'll get your turn. All right, just
way to go. Tag me in, coach. Tag me in.
But yeah, just on that, the badgering the refs, and I actually wrote this down. Him badgering was my highlight because there was that Severies knock-on try, and they went back to do it, but before then, watching at the ground because it happened near me, they all kind of ran over to the ref like it was almost like it was soccer. And Harry Wilson was in front of it going, check it out. I mean, Nathan, you probably saw that. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about Wilson. Big fan and biggest gift New South Wales given to Queensland since, I don't know, Israel Folau or Chris Latham. I think Chris Latham is also from Narrabri.
There's raiding Narrabri and just taking away our good talent, stealing our jobs. And that thing on Harry Wilson, also 25 and 25 tackles as well. Didn't miss one. You could tell by the way he sung the anthem. You could tell by his just how he looked. He ran out there and almost felt like he almost took James Slipper out when he was high fiving him and getting ready to go. This was a man that was pumped up and on a mission, and it showed throughout this game. He's just from a guy who when he essentially after the Perth defeat, he got brought in as the captain to speak to the media. As we went to go to put the phones down to record it, Harry goes, "Please don't ask me questions." He's someone who's just still getting used to being a captain, and in that moment was just I don't know, Joe's here, just ask him. I don't want to do this. So he's still trying to figure out all that's nuance here about captaincy as well. But as you said, he's a man of actions, and he's just somebody who's just found his spot in the Joe Schmidt system, is living up to that potential, and is just sort of making that number 8 jersey his own.
I like that.
Yeah. Nathan, what's your next highlight?
My next highlight
is too much so far.
Here's my problem: is I'm going to probably have to talk about a couple of Queenslanders or players that have played for the Reds, because my sort of highlight coming out of that was the impact from the bench. I don't think we've had
oh my god,
I think every player made a difference coming on.
Yeah, all of them.
Again, Brandon Pangaromosa looks amazing since coming back from France. He's just a big body. His throwing was strong. He just seemed to make an impact. Salakar Loto just sort of took the game on and just went, no, I'm going to start bashing people and see what happens.
Yeah, when he bashed, I think, was it Damien McKenzie trying to do a covering tackle? That was amazing.
I think so, yeah. And then just ran over somebody's ball to sort of create a break. Laney Gleason's turnover. Dylan Peach basically playing the Marika Korobetti role. Tate McDermott sort of sniping and setting up a couple of tries with a couple of good balls out, picking the moment to when they just essentially absorbed all the All Blacks defenders and throwing the right pass to his outside back to score. Slipper and Altoa playing incredibly solid when they came on as well. There were so much to like about how this bench came on and made an impact and just sort of got them back in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Queensland connection, I've got that down. I think for all cohesion fans out there.
Queensland backbone, I believe you can probably call it that if you want. I mean, yeah, I have to agree. I think I was really worried about that bench, and I reckon that's Langy Gleason's best performance in gold. Dude was phenomenal. I reckon he was because he kind of had to really put have his work cut out. He's replacing Bobby V, and honestly, it was just swapping one quality player out for another. He got a couple of good steals in, a couple of excellent carries. The problem that in the past, the issue that I've had is that he's frequently been isolated whenever he's gone into contact more than other players. And I think there was the first hit up. I was like, fuck, don't do it again. Please don't do it. Don't get isolated again. But he worked quite well with that. LSL looked great. Oh, mate, he was phenomenal off the bench. Really liked him. And here you go. It's obligatory again. I've been a fan of BPA since his Rams days. And there it is. And I was pumped to see him back. I was so pumped. I'm such a fan of him. Love that player, and he was great. I was loving his inclusion. Nice to see that as much as I do like John Nasser, I think Nasser has actually been pretty good playing, off the bench. There was just BPA. Obviously, it was probably because it was his first match back in goal. He seemed really eager to impress, and I really liked it. He was such a good influence, and he kind of built on all that stuff that Matty Fessler's been doing a lot.
Yeah, he was unreal. I was unsure about him coming back in. I mean, how bad must everything else be that old mates come back from France and get slotted straight in? But he was great. Even that break he did, again, it was a bit Matt Dunning in open space. Fuck, it was great. Great to see him back. And look, we can talk about our lineouts when we get to lowlights, but yeah, fantastic.
I mean, should we acknowledge Slips? 140. 140 caps. My God, what an effort. I mean, a bit annoying he had to come off for was it an HIA?
Yeah.
Because he actually, I thought he was looking
back on.
Yeah. He was looking pretty good up until that point. I really noticed I really noticed how much he kind of kept pushing that momentum that Bell had really set the standard for, playing it on the loose side of the scrum. What an achievement! What an achievement! 140. There's a really great video that I think the All Blacks came into the change room afterwards to present Nathan. Not you, mate.
I was honoured by it. It was great.
Yeah, I know. To present Slips with a bottle of wine from a really nice bottle of wine, and said congratulations and all of that stuff. And the only thing that Slips said was "see you next week." I was like, love it.
He hates the attention. These last 2-3 weeks has been the worst of his life. In the sense of he's just the most humble guy. Again, just from just a typical sort of battler, just goes about his business and having to do all the stuff of celebrating his achievements and celebrating this sort of individualistic. I can't even say that right. Jesus Christ! These sort of individual goals and milestones he hates. He's so team focused. So, but I think that moment of seeing him sort of go out and you have John Eales, George Gregan, these sort of legends sort of celebrating him. That's a pretty cool moment.
George Regan's looking great for 50. Unbelievable.
He could still carve a team up, I reckon.
Oh yeah. just dude's a freak.
Okay, I've got another highlight. Highlight. This might be a bit controversial. And this is more of a personal crusade of mine. Look, I think Tom Wright is really settling into that fullback position. He gets a lot of shit because I think we could probably agree with this. He's not a safe pair of hands. It's not when, he's got the hands on the ball, you're like, oh, thank God. I guess in the same way that like Israel Folau, for example, you'd be like, okay, at least he can catch the ball and hold on to it and not do something crazy. But Tom Wright does. And more his kind of out there plays have, been, his decision making's improved. I saw some comment that he runs when he should pass and he passes when he should run. But I think he's really grown into that role and he's received a lot of hate. I mean, he got dropped after that awful Argentina game, I think, before the World Cup.
What?
Is it Moa?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Argentina game last year. Argentina game last week. Yeah. I mean, like the big thing for Tom Wright this year has been getting rid of that real brain explosion. Like he just had that in the game far too often. I think he's become a lot more settled and flown under the radar a bit. Was his sort of defensive capabilities of just being able to shut down plays and make that try saving tackle. And now you're sort of seeing the attacking flair come out, and I think it's also just maybe a little bit of a reward for patience and just giving him 6 or 7 games there at the back just to kind of not get used to test football, but just sort of build that confidence up and have that ability to really just pick and choose. Because it was a great break he made where he sort of, I'm trying to remember who was in the line. I think he saw like Sam Kane or someone in the line and went, "Oh, I'm quicker than you," and just like burnt him on his outside.
Yeah, I think I remember that one down the left wing.
Yeah, and it was just like eyes up footy. That's what he thrives on. But maybe wouldn't have done the sort of same play, a year or two ago, or would have, as you said, maybe kicked that ball away or just made the wrong decision. So I think that it was one of his better games that he's played.
Patience is the word. Like I had a moment, kind of, maybe it might have been the same play, because I think there was a moment where, like early on, just after that quick try, where I think it was like Noah throws a pass out and Tom suddenly finds himself in space, and then he runs and makes a really good break down through pretty much through the center of the field. And I just had a moment where I just thought to myself, was it just me, or was he just a lot more patient? He took allowed more time for himself. He kind of took a moment to see exactly what was in front of him and then act accordingly. And I know that seems really basic, but even though he felt he was really explosive and really getting great gain line movement, it felt calmer, not slower necessarily, but more patient. And I thought he was great. Like you're absolutely right to include him as a highlight, Nick, because just I've really been impressed with him. Even I think he even helped to unload blokes. Like I saw Kellaway make a few runs a bit more. There was a bit more collaboration between those two a bit, which was really, really positive. Back three, I mean, of course, Marika didn't have a perfect game again either, but it did look a lot more explosive and dangerous. And I think off the back of him kind of being a bit more controlled, it certainly worked.
Mm-hmm. All right, do you have another highlight, Nick or Nathan? Or we should get into lowlights? I've only got
I think
two more highlights.
We should start lowlights.
All right, I've just got one more highlight. Well, actually, something we didn't talk about was the heart and the fight back. I mean, that was a highlight.
Absolutely.
That nestled my loins for at least days.
Just something on the fight. Like this, it's a team which I think concedes like 101 points in 100 minutes almost, if you can include the Argentina game. And there's a lot of people, a lot of casual fans who are turned off at 21-0, being like, or just assume they got pumped. But like, there's a reason why people still keep coming back to the games like this, because they know, fuck, that team will fight. Like, if you just sort of switch off slightly, they fight. They're a very, and it's one of those ones. I want to call them a likable team, but they keep losing, so that makes it tough for like an outsider fan. But for a true rugby fan, like, you get what I mean. Like, they're a likable team that you go, you can walk away from a game like that and going like, geez, they fought. geez, they could have just thrown in the towel in a la Argentina, but God, they fought and sort of just gave you hope at the end. And, you know, whilst, yes, it then sucks to have that ripped away, but back at least it was hope.
There's been I would detect there's been a huge culture shift. And maybe to your point, Nick, as well, about Wilson and the leadership. I just feel there's been a big culture shift. No wonder, actually, with all the Queenslanders, because the best thing that Brad Thorne did was just clear out the shit there and rebuilt the culture. And I've got a feeling maybe that's come down because, like you said, they're all battlers, and that's really started to reflect in the way the team plays.
I think,
Yeah. So
can I just make one more point as well?
Yeah.
Like, you talk about them being battlers. I'm trying to remember. I think there was a spray. Ben Batcher, the former sort of Eastwood fullback, Eastwood coach, sort of delivered like 3 or 4 years ago, basically when like Ben Donaldson was starting and all that sort of stuff for the Waratahs over Tane. He basically said something on the lines of, "Oh, this golden generation have basically just been like handed everything, and you know, it's, you know, they haven't had to work for anything. They've been told they've been great, but they haven't done anything yet." And you look at some of those people in that same year, Fraser McReight, Harry Wilson's, these on more like your Tom Wrights to an extent as well. Like, we now have a generation of player that has had those setbacks, has had to learn what it's like to not have that gold jersey, what it's like to have heartbreak, what it's like to struggle and sort of after sort of cruising through the systems and being told how great they are. So I think what you're seeing now is a bit of that steely undertone of having gone through that with that sort of talent that's been promised to us from that sort of junior Wallabies class of, I think it was 21, which carved them up. I was like 2019, I think it was.
Funny you mention this, and I think now's, you know, I do think that, but, you know, we're talking about this new generation, and we're talking about, you know, the progression and that they've been through they've been through the shredder. I mean, I've no doubt they've been through the shredder, but kind of going back to, and this is probably a good segue into lowlights.
I wanted to do my one last highlight.
All right, do it.
Nothing
Go.
to do with what we've said.
Fire. Go.
One highlight was, and I'm not sure if this came through on TV, but they rolled out Lee Kernaghan. It was like R.M. Williams and Lee Kernaghan. And it came up on so it came up on the TV, and it was like all these kind of cool shots of Lee Kernaghan. And I was like, as I said to my mates, like, oh, it must be just a video we're going to watch. But no, Lee Kernaghan was there at the other end of the field behind the goal singing. And so he did one of his songs. And then he goes, all right, how about Waltzing Matilda?
Oh,
he started playing. And meanwhile, like, there's kids coming out. I think the women came out and played a little game, you know, halftime kind of thing. And the players came out. I didn't really pay attention because I was singing along. And, you know, people come out like they're just warming up, whatever. But no, it was the actual players. And at no point did anyone say, all right, second half's about to begin, which is fucking stupid. And so they just cut off Waltzing Matilda about halfway through.
Oh, rough.
So it was better. It was better. And so he did the same thing happened in Brisbane, but he kept singing it. Because I think he did two of his songs, and this is like the third one. And it was one of those ones where like Dylan Peach nearly took the ball. And I've been like, I was going to be like, that would be like our championship like DVD. And, like, he's singing Waltzing Matilda, and we just made a break, and all of a sudden like lit up the crowd. That would have been it. But yeah, no, it's an upgrade from the whipper, from the guy that they had like. It's part of like an R.M. Williams deal, but like they had like one of those like whip, like dude just like throwing the whips around and make like whip cracking and all that. It's like, that's cool, yeah, but like where's my Waltzing Matilda? Simple, man.
It did make me feel like we really need to start singing Waltzing Matilda a lot more. It feels like it's fallen off the last few years. I
mean,
it
is a story about criminal. Yeah,
they stopped them from singing it before a game.
It's literally a story about criminals stealing some sheep and then dying.
Yeah, I know, but like, it's fucking Australia, mate. Come on. I mean, at least it's. I mean, actually, I might find myself in hot water here. I mean, I'm assuming there's not any racist connotations to it, like "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" or something like that. But like, surely you can. I mean, it's seen as an Aussie thing. We always used to do it back in the olden days. I'm assuming that there's. I mean, there's a reason why it didn't get there's a reason why it didn't get selected as the national anthem, despite a million folks wanting it to happen, because it's not exactly like sending the right message about Australia, but it is still a good song to sing. So, roll up the folks, but not a bad highlight. And I reckon I don't mind hearing Lee Kernaghan there. I heard it just in the background of the broadcast, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Haven't heard Waltzing Matilda in a long time." So, but. Let's dive into lowlights, and kind of on the point of that we were getting to just a second ago, on the whole point of culture and players who have been through the shredder. They have been through the shredder. I came into this game really not excited because I just thought, we're going to get our asses handed to us. It feels like there's a bit of a soft underbelly to this side. It feels like there's a lot of issues that are kind of coming through here. We're either going to have a backs to the wall fight back, or we're going to get our asses handed to us again. And even after this result, I still feel incredibly conflicted because, we've been here before. We've talked about, this team puts together an amazing performance. I'm genuinely proud of that performance. I am not denying that. And I'm not denying that the Wallabies should really take a lot of positives out of it and really take a lot of mindsets going forward. But we've been here so many times where it has felt like, we're about to start building something. I think this performance counts for naught. If they turn up and put a performance together like that in Wellington next week, that is a different story. That is a more important performance, even if they lose. To come within 5 of being the All Blacks in Wellington, I think is more important because, they can turn up one week and put in a great performance, but inconsistency has been the only constant of the Wallabies in throughout this last 10 years. And this performance counts for nothing unless they can turn up and really say to the All Blacks, you know what, we're going to go toe-to-toe with you again. Yes, the Bledisloe is gone for another year, but we know that we can take you on. And that I am a little bit worried about. And I know that that's more of a preemptive low light, but it kind of leads on to a couple of other key points about the game. I mean, I feel like we should start with the most controversial player in the Wallabies right now. Noah Lolesio. I thought he actually played a pretty decent game. He kind of similar to that Argentina when he kind of eased into it as it went. And I think he combines well with Nick White because they've played together so well. In my head, though, I think Tate needs to start, in all honesty. Nothing against Nick White, the player, but part of me just thinks, I think Tate has kind of got more of the attacking options and prowess that can offer a bit more than Nick White has. The halves combination is still the big question mark to me right now. And as much as I think... D-Mac, I think D-Mac has plenty of questions to answer himself, and I think there's another low light is some key things about the All Blacks. I'm still on the fence on these two.
Those are all highlights.
Potentially. Thoughts?
I would say Tate has almost become too good of a finisher for his own good. Like the way how good he was in sort of that back in the Argentina games, and this game as well. Like I agree. I think he should get a chance to start. But I think he should have just found himself, as just almost pigeonholed just to sort of ironically come on with Tom Liner and finish a game who didn't get off the bench. That's one of the things that kind of, not a low light, but something which my head scratcher is. Like I get like Lalesio's on fire, but not using your 10 on the bench. It's been a couple of times now. Joe has sort of given the 10 like 78, 79 minutes. It's like if you're gonna back him to play the entire game, just put a center replacement on there. Put someone else that like can actually do that job for you. But like it was a mixed game from Lolesio. Like you can tell the difference in sort of how they found meters, particularly off penalty kicks. Like the touchies basically standing still and just putting his flag up. While for us, he's sort of running back like 15, 20 meters. Like I think his kicking game in that sort of regard can get better. But yeah, I would say the big negative for me was just how timid our defense was in the first 15 minutes.
Oh, God, yes.
The fact that just we invited pressure and they just carved us up because we just sort of stood there and just started just running backwards and trying to tackle.
Yeah, that was.
Oh
that was
God,
pretty
yeah.
bad. I've got nothing to add on what you boys said about Bledisloe and Nick White, whatever. Agree with all of it. Why did Jake Gordon start? Was that just a tactical decision?
The word was that after Argentina, like there was a number of guys very much under the weather in terms of illness and everything else, and Nick White was being the fresher man in Joe's words, so he sort of given the crack at it.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, defense awful. I don't know if you guys want to say more than that. If not, I can go on to my low light.
Go for it.
It was the fucking stupidity, especially of that first half. Definitely those first 20 minutes. Go back to Fraser McRight's 22-22 kick. I think that next line out, we got done for not being 5 back. And then
we lost it somehow. I can't remember. I can't remember
think
exactly.
That might have been it. Might have been it. And then maybe we lost the line out. And then I think the All Blacks had possession, and then we gave away another stupid penalty. So we'll back down our 22 within a minute.
So in the space of for the exact timings, 22:53 was the 2022. Severeese makes a line break that sets up Artie Savia at 24:10.
Yeah.
So that is what 67 seconds later, something like that.
Yeah, just stupid fucking mistakes. Tear your hair out, and they went away. And I was saying to my mate, look, they went away second half, and I was saying to my other mate, look, if we didn't have those mistakes, we would have been in the game a lot more. And we somehow were in the game at halftime, which was crazy. But it was just, and he was like, well, if my auntie had wheels, should be a bike kind of territory. But it was really, no, like there were stupid mistakes that easily snubbed out. I'm not talking about the knock-ons, which we can talk about later, but just fucking stupid, fucking irritating. There was also one break, I think in the second half, where someone just went, I think it was Fessler, just went for a run, just without anyone with him. Or Lolosio, when the ball got dropped by Nick Frost, I think. And he just kind of looked at it. No one dived on it.
No one dived on it. Oh, I was so angry at that one. I was
just
like,
shit like that.
Oh,
shit
God,
like that. But despite that, we almost won the game.
The rugby player in me just fucking lost my shit at that moment. I just went, for the love of God, my natural reaction, dive on the ball. It's your ball. Get it. Get the ball. Don't have the second guessing moment. But yeah, I mean, that passive moments and the kind of the decision making, is pretty. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so frustrating because, like, they fixed it later in the game. So you can't be totally critical about it. But I think this goes back to the point Nathan made in the last podcast where that those problems are there at the moment. It can be really bad and it's still in the game a bit. And that is concerning. The fact that it is still there, even though they fixed it, I think they really need to make sure that they, find a way to turn that light off in the metaphorical Wallabies car, and find a way. They need to go into the shop and get that fixed properly, because it's just like, because you're going to lose a lot of games if you are that inconsistent, even within games themselves, which is so interesting. I'll throw in a low light here, and I actually think it's but we do have listeners internationally, particularly across the Dutch. And I think that even though it's a highlight for us Wallabies fans, it's definitely a low light for if you're an All Blacks fan. Last week I said that I don't fear the All Blacks anymore. And even though that first 25 minutes, it was kind of reaffirming to me that I still think that there are major issues with the All Blacks, where we have also just degraded to a point where we can't neutralize and effectively tackle those cracks that are developing. Come the end of the game, I didn't see much positivity from many All Blacks fans, even though they had won back the Bledisloe Cup. And I think it's really...
They were nervous. In the end, they were nervous and we were calm.
Exactly.
I guess we were probably also nervous. They're definitely beatable, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed something like after they scored those 3 tries, and I don't want to say arrogance, but there was a moment where Reece threw just a Harlem Globetrotter sort of pass, and Tom Wright intercepted it, and started running off down the field. And I kind of had a moment. I was like, "You're willing to try that?" I mean, I get it. You're up 3 tries and you're trying to pull off an insane move, but that's the sort of move where like you're on cloud 9 and you think you can do no wrong, which was a little bit like, yeah. And I'm not going to lie, when Clark was sent to the bin and Leonard Brown was sent to the bin, I reckon everyone was shitting themselves collectively. The All Blacks did not look calm, in control. Australia looked the more disciplined side.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is the highlight, I guess, but I think pressure led to those 2 cards.
Absolutely.
They so direct outcomes.
I was kind of add a low light to this as well. The fact that we had, delivered that pressure and they had 13 players and we didn't score once. Both tries came 15 to 15 and 15 on 14. They had 13 players for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
That was a killer. Like that's a golden opportunity to put it away. I mean, I can argue. I reckon we can make the argument the Wallabies ran out of time. If they hadn't been 21-0 down,
yeah. If the game went 90 minutes, we would have won that.
Yeah, I'd argue that the momentum that we had more momentum going into the in those closing stages of the match, and it was just a case of it was a bridge too far. But I mean, Nathan, you're absolutely right. They should have scored there. They should have really closed that gap to the 2 or 3 points ahead that they probably needed to be when Leonard Brown and Clark knew it. And to be honest, the All Blacks knew it. I think they knew that they were kind of lucky to get away with that one. The mood from Razor, and I think hearing Scott Barrett post match, the word that came to mind was it was a relief. That he said in post-match, which was interesting to me. It was really interesting to me that that's how they reacted. Because I was the haka was really like they were there to mean business. And that first 20 minutes they were sublime and looked phenomenal, and were playing some straight quality, excellent rugby. Jordan is a gun. Jordan is just. Dude just built different. My God.
No, that's it. We're talking no, that's it.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, even in spite of that, I reckon if you were an All Blacks fan, how do you feel right now? Even though you've won the Bledisloe for another year. I
think all the chat about them being beatable, Touchwood will lose by 50-0 in Wellington is, I mean, just like an example of the golfing talent. Damien McKenzie is their 3rd choice fly half. Way better than Noah Olacia. So yeah, good hustle from us. My low light, can I add? Cora Betty.
Tried telling you guys last week and nobody would listen to me.
Yeah. All right, I'm listening.
Yeah, we did.
I think, and
let me have my narrative. Shush.
I'm sorry.
Cora Betty. I don't know. He's just not his old self. Maybe he's undercooked. I'm not sure. But start Peach next week, please.
Yeah, I think Kellaway as well, defensively, probably wasn't up to his standard as well. I think he missed 6 or 7 tackles. Missed 6 tackles. And, just got... I think Lenny Cantale's probably same character as well. Probably not up to standard. Want to get rid of him? Absolutely not. It's still amazing, but there was a couple in that back line just didn't sort of have the best of their games, and I think there's an easy change to be made to bring someone in, bring Peach in for Corabetti, and look for a Josh Fluke or Max Jones on the bench, a bit of younger blood, just to kind of get a bit more energy late in the game.
Yeah, fair.
Another low light I've got. Sorry, just while I'm here, that first try was absolutely obstruction. Who runs into the line and with their back to the try line? How is that in any way natural?
Yeah, there was a couple of calls there I'd like to question. We're on the similar theme. A rolling ball being called within 1.5 seconds of a tackle being made.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Like he's still moving forward. He's still sort of almost running, moving forward. And he called a rolling maul with a arm essentially around his head.
There was also a passage of play where it looked like Australia had the advantage, and then all of a sudden the Kiwis earn a penalty.
Like we also quite clearly dropped the ball and allowed to play, and it's all of a sudden like we go in and score, and it's like that was the most obvious knock on. How are we still playing right now?
Oh yeah, the Kellaway's one. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah. It was so bad, which is a shame because like I felt like that was such a summary of just where we were at. It was one basic error, and then they produced something absolutely beautiful and magnificent, and it's a gorgeous try to was it Ikitau or something.
Yeah, I feel that was probably the
Hunter,
game with the most tries ruled out for knock on.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was insane. It was like 4 or 5.
Probably 4 or 5 knock on, and at least 4 or 5 other just bomb tries where if the last pass sticks, you're in.
That length of the field Kiwi try was objectively good, and then it was pulled back for that one forward pass, and I was just like, oh, man, D-Mac, you messed up again, which was fair. But I mean, all things considered, I actually still think Dixon had a pretty decent game. I mean, I don't think he was,
he was good.
He still played it pretty. I mean, we be armchair critics here, but because it is hard to be a referee. But like all things considered, bar the couple of small little complaints that didn't
It's just disappointing to have the last play of the game be dictated by iffy penalty again.
You mean like the rolling maul? Was that a maul?
Yeah.
Was there anything there? Like it looked like a maul was called to me. I think was the call that.
Yeah, it was like it was quite clearly maul-ish,
Maul-ish, but wasn't there like a
quickly.
claim of obstruction around like hit body height or something? Wasn't there like a claim of foul play?
The claim was he got hit in the head. What's the replay? Got hit in the head.
Okay. Well.
The reality is, I've seen so many more like calls which just aren't like that, which are given a couple of times to the player to actually find the ground. And if in a similar situation, he would have given that ground and then just gone on. But look again, you can't complain about a referee when you've gone down 21-0.
Yeah.
In 15 minutes. Can I add another low light to this as well?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going? The fact that now the Bledisloe series is done. Who made it a 2-game series?
So funny you mentioned this. I feel like there was similar discussions happening over on the Raw about this. It's funny that we don't really mention this. We don't really mention it when it's
in a zoo. That's weird.
Yeah,
we don't know that website.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's funny that we really talk about it. We focus on it razor thin closely, like we zero in on it during the Bledisloe, and then talk about it with and then we don't even mention it during the Mandela Challenge Plate or the Pruma Trophy or any of the other stuff that we play on an annual basis. I mean, I know they're talking about doing an Anzac Day match. I mean, that'll turn it to a 3-test series in a year, won't it, Nathan?
Well, usually is a 3-test series.
Because that's to Nick's point as well. Like it was a 3-game series up until 2021. Then it all of a sudden went to the 2-gamer. Like the Mandela and stuff hasn't been a 3-game series. That's just been like a 2-game series. So it's not like we're not creating where it's the removal of the game rather than creation of the other game. Also, the Bledisloe Cup means a lot more to Australians and probably New Zealanders as well than those other series. No matter what. No matter what private equity company wants to sort of market 2026 as rugby's greatest rivalry.
Oh, no matter how cool the trophy is, just a giant coup. But I think as well, like it should shift to look if for example we towel up the Kiwis 50-0, we would have quote unquote we would have won the moral victory here over the 2-game series. We were the better team, let's say. And I think they do need to change it to something like that.
You mean like it should either be? I mean, Brumby's boy on Twitter made a good point on this, which was what he kind of had questions about the 2-match series as well. That it should either be a 1-match winner takes all situation or a 3-match series.
Or just it's available after every game. If you win one game, you take the cup, and you instead of
That's how we
you just take the cup.
I mean, I think it's fair. I actually think that makes it way more interesting, to be honest, because I mean we have that with the trophy against Wales. We would win it during the July international series, and then we go over to Wales and lose it, and then they own it for a bit. Like I actually think there's nothing wrong with that.
There is a cup. I think it's called the Rayburn Shield, and it's not a real thing. It's just some dude, I think on Twitter, who has a cup. It's kind of like it's treated like a boxing belt in that if you beat the team, whoever's okay, like the Kiwis have it now, and they go to play in France, and then France beats them, and then France plays England, beats England. They've still got the trophy. Blah blah blah. They should do something like that. That'd be cool.
I think that they've got two. There's the Ultrix Shield for the women's internationals, and then there's also the Rayburn Shield as well. Yeah,
it's the Irish who after the July series 2 took it, which again now Ireland goes number 1 with South Africa losing. Like it almost sort of adds a little bit of sort of unity.
I like that. All right, they should make it official. Is there an actual shield? I'm assuming there must be. I'll check their Twitter now. Actually, the
dude's made an actual shield for it.
Oh shit! Yeah, awesome. They should actually turn it into a piece of like. I mean, it should be endorsed by World Rugby. It's such a cool idea. Yeah, but who knows? It's another discussion for another time. If there's any World Rugby administrators listening, please contact the Rayburn Shield and the Ultrix Shield. Let's make it like official because it's kind of cool to put some more silverware up. Ideally, you can drink out of. Probably would also be recommended. Let's finish this pod, I reckon, by previewing Wellington. We're going to New Zealand. Even if the series is over, I still think that there's a lot to play for if you are in that Wallaby squad. And this is the reason why I am in such a conflicted headspace right now, because if we go to Wellington and the same result happens as always, it'll just feel like more of the same bullshit, and that it was another, I don't want to say a false dawn or another false, or a moment where we had moments of brilliance of, we kind of were there, but then the following week we just get towed up. I mean, we had that in Argentina, we had that elsewhere. But if they turn up to Wellington and play a great game, and it's similar to what we just saw in Sydney, for me, that changes everything in terms of Joe Schmidt in general, because it introduces, or it starts to pull in that key thing that the Wallabies have been missing for such a long time. We know that this is a decent team. We know that it's the reason why we keep coming back is because there are glimpses of real quality in this side. And it's what makes us tear our bloody hair out, because we know what the team is capable of. Consistency. And so I'm in such an antsy mood now, because I'm expecting, even after that great performance, because I am expecting that we will not turn up next week, because that has been the story probably since 2016. How do we feel? I know that we probably all are reacting to this in very different places compared to how I'm feeling, and Nathan, what's your headspace on this?
I think it's a very fair headspace to have, to be honest. Like, it's one of those ones which it's built off years of seeing it happen. One great Australian performance followed up by one terrible one, where you're out of the game in sort of 50 minutes. You're thinking, geez, we're back to square one here. Yeah, I think this game's crucial. Like the last game before we go on the spring tour, this can sort of set the tempo for whatever expectations are heading over there. Look, I think changes need to be made still. I agree. Peach to start. Salaka Loto, get him in there. Even look at BPA to hooker.
Really?
I think it's great. I think Fez has been good, but let's see what we got there. And then
it was pretty shit, and we didn't say the lowlights. Line out was shit in the first half.
Oh, there's also another point to mention, which was Tupou coming off after 45. I mean, it was a better performance than in Argentina, but I think we need some more time out of him. For example, they need to have a performance of upwards of 50 minutes at least I
45 is not that bad. Like,
it's not that bad. But
like everyone looks at like how there's sort of like some of the All Blacks dudes go like 70 minutes and stuff like that, and think, oh well, why can't you do that? It's like barely anybody can do that. Most props are off after 50 minutes. Like I want to say when I think the Kiwis made their change. They definitely they made the change after ours, but I'm not sure exactly the time.
So Lomax came on in the 71st minute. So Lomax came off and it was replaced by Tosi in the 71st minute, and then Tamati Williams came on to replace De Groot at halftime. So
exactly. So they made the change before us.
Yeah, it's
like
yeah.
He's a 140 kilo prop that has the pace of a winger at some stages. Like that takes it out of it. Is he significantly overweight right now? Probably, allegedly. Like he's someone that like during the week, like Jeff Parling, who's sort of with him at the Rebels the entire time, even admitted that look, we probably do need to like start pushing him a bit more and try and get the best out of him because he has so much potential and hasn't delivered on it yet. But at 45 minutes, that's fine. Like I'm just looking at the South African game right now. Thomas Dutoy, who was their starting tight head, went off at the 47-minute mark. Like 3 or 4 minutes difference.
Yeah, look, to go back to the headspace question. Yeah, look, you're right about consistency. That's been a thing. If the pattern repeats, because we played well against Argentina first game, bombed it in the second, played well here, will we bomb it in the second again? That's happened year on year on year on year. Look, I'm happy with the inconsistency. I think that's a big cultural shift that will take ages to fix and a real long-term focus to fix. And, to go back to our points about leadership and all that stuff. So, look, as long as they play well, as long as we can get more than a half of playing well, because it's been 2 games in a row where we haven't got that, I'd be happy, And it's just slowly but surely. And I really think, like I talked about Tom Wright, talked about Fraser McRae. The only kind of person that hasn't shown a good steady improvement is Noah, even though I thought he played all right on the weekend. And there is a lot of pressure on him as well. But I think just as long as we keep making that steady progress, I'll be happy.
Is that probably the best
headspace? I had such a good time yesterday as well.
Yeah. And that should be acknowledged as well, that, it was genuinely entertaining, and I think a lot of fans left the game happy, as you should be. You should be happy with that because it was a really, really good performance. And your enjoyment in it shouldn't be, you should acknowledge that. It's definitely, and I'm really glad to see that, a lot of people will probably want to come back to a Wallabies game after that. But, yeah, even a close loss here. I mean, there's been a lot of, after that Argentina match, there was so much, so many people were hounding the Wallabies, like from all corners of the world. Even, some idiots in the UK saying, well, we should, stop the Lions tour and they should go to South Africa instead because it'll be so much of a cakewalk for the Lions. I actually think that a good performance in New Zealand, even if they don't win, changes that discussion. Not just for us idiots off the side of the field who just talk shit and discuss everything, but for them. For them themselves. Joe Schmidt, it's one thing that I've just appreciated from Joe. Maybe it was probably because after a year of Eddie, he's been no BS, and he's been no BS the whole time. Even after results where we got the wins, he would be honest and say, look, it's still not up to standard and it's still not there. And he did talk a lot about how belief takes a very long time to instill in sides after the result of this match. And was still pretty honest about, honestly, go watch his presses, go watch his post matches if you can, because, he doesn't sugarcoat it. He's not necessarily the most eloquent bloke, but he still tells it pretty honestly and like, hey, this is where we're sitting and here's where we are. So For me, I reckon it just similar to you, Nick. Just a good performance, like not necessarily a win, just something that says to these players, trust yourself to back yourself, because that they are good players. They genuinely are good players, and they can beat anyone on their day if they get the chance to. So that is the only hope that I can really pull from this. But I'm still not gonna. It's still not going to be a fun week leading into this Bledisloe, because you're just thinking about those same weeks just gone, that 50-0 pumping that we've seen so many times before, and I'll be just pretty freaking gutted if we have this if it's the same result again.
Nathan, are you excited for this week? So I'm going to say Nick's to no. I'm excited. You're the deciding vote.
I'll always be excited for Bledisloe.
There we go.
We have 6 days. I've deluded myself to thinking we win games in like half that time.
Yeah.
So please, we're
respect. Respect. All right, lads, let's call it here. I reckon we've waffled on enough. We've talked Bledisloe enough. Enjoy the performance, guys. I reckon we'll be back later this week to preview the Wallaby squad. We'll talk a bit of Wallaroos and other performances later then. Thanks for listening to the Drop Kickoff, and we'll catch you the next time round.